Athlonsports.com has come out with their preseason poll for the 2023 season. And yes, this includes all 14 Big 12 teams in 2023. Where does West Virginia stand? Where do I think they should land? We're going to talk about that on the other side of the intro on this episode of Mountaineer Paul Talks Football.
This is for Cameron.
What is up, guys? Welcome in. My name is Mountaineer Paul, and you've landed right here again at Mountaineer Paul Talks Football. I got to say, guys, I knew that it was preseason magazine season. I've got Phil Steele, messaged him today. I'm going to be talking to some of these people about where they feel the Mountaineers sit. And you're going to see me probably get kicked in the teeth a couple times here in the next few weeks or months because I'm going to be doing some standing up for our Mountaineers. And I'm also going to be agreeing with some stuff too. I think we can find a happy medium to sit in and agree what's achievable for the West Virginia Mountaineers in 2023. In this episode, I'm going to be coming up with reasons why I think the Mountaineers should be in a better spot than this poll has them. I'm going to be coming up with reasons why they should be higher than where they are. And then I'm going to come up with some reasons why the poll has them where they are. Without further ado, let's go 1 to 14 through this poll. But number 1, Texas. Number 2, TCU. Number 3, Oklahoma. Number 4, Kansas State. Number 5, Texas Tech. Number 6, Baylor. Number 7, University of Central Florida. Number 8, Kansas. Number 9, Oklahoma State. Number 10, Iowa State. Where's West Virginia going to land? Number 11, Cincinnati. Number 12, Brigham Young University. Number 13, the Fighting Dana Holgersons. And number 14, the West Virginia University Mountaineers. And you can see I have a question mark beside that number. Here is the article that I was able to clip, and this is Athlonsports.com. I'm going to give them full credit. And Athlon Sports, they have a preseason magazine that they publish. Certainly go check that out. And I'll go ahead and throw their website in the description box at the end of the episode. It says, the 2023 season is a make-or-break one for Coach Neil Brown in Morgantown. The Mountaineers are 22-25 under Brown's direction, but haven't had a winning record in Big 12 play and failed to win more than 6 games in a season in his tenure. An offense that averaged only 5.3 yards per play in Big 12 contests is under the direction of a new play caller, Chad Scott. Now, we all know that's probably not going to be the case, but they're not paying attention to it like we are. The strength of this unit is at running back and along the offensive line, which provides a sturdy foundation for Garrett Green or Nico Marchiol at quarterback. Question marks surround the defense. The Mountaineers gave up 32.9 points a game last year and struggled mightily against the pass. All Big 12 defensive lineman Dante Stills is off to the NFL. So some solid reasoning for, I feel like, why they have the Mountaineers where they are. Really, there's nothing. Yes, the defense was tremendously bad last year. And we can all agree with that. Was one of the most disgusting defensive performances we've seen since the 2012 years anyway, or somewhere in thereabouts. The Baylor, the 70-point game against Baylor, those were truly bad defensive teams as well. But in my opinion, there's nowhere to go for this defense but up. They certainly should not or can't get worse. They could, but I'm going to say Jordan Leslie, who was good 2 out of his first 3 seasons as a defensive coordinator, we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think this defense is going to be better next year. I really do. You add Montre Miller, who is an elite speed guy, who graded out at Pro Football Focus at the Division I level. We're not talking about an FCS guy. We're talking about a Group of 5 school, yes. But Kent State played a lot of top flight competition last year. We're talking about the competition that they were playing in the non-conference, Washington, Oklahoma, and Georgia. Montre Miller graded out really well against all three of those football teams. The real reason I think the Mountaineers should be ranked higher, in my opinion, you've got a running back in the offensive coordinator spot. You've got Neil Brown acknowledging that the running back room is probably the best position group on the team, top to bottom. Certainly, offensive line plays into that. And here's why I think the Mountaineers are going to play much, much tougher and better in the Big 12. I predict the Mountaineers to finish in the top 7. This is my prediction. I think the West Virginia Mountaineers are going to finish inside the top 7 this year in the Big 12. And I think they're going to win 7 games, possibly more. Here's the reason why. With the caveat that they stick to this formula, especially if the defense turns out to be bad still yet this year. We have, based on Pro Football Focus and the grading system that they use, 4 of the 5 starters along the offensive line are upper echelon players, even in the Big 12. Obviously, we all know how good C.J. Donaldson is. We saw Jalen Anderson at the end of the year. Oh, by the way, the 2 starters that started out the year, Tony Mathis Jr. and Justin Johnson, are flip-flopped in the rotation now, or at least we assume they are. Maybe they'll work their way up into the rotation and be to the second spot. But we all know C.J. Donaldson is probably going to be the starter. And I anticipate Jalen Anderson to get a lot of those carries as well. If C.J. Donaldson can continue on the trajectory he was on, if you go to my Twitter page, @PaulMountaineer, a lot of you guys will see I was on C.J. Donaldson extremely early in the process. I was able to get his tape. I was able to watch the tape. I was on C.J. early, just had a really good feeling about him. I did not know they were going to move any running back. I personally thought he was going to be really good in the tight end. Let's look at some Pro Football Focus grades from last year and see top performers from last year's team. Okay. On the offensive side of the ball, the number 1 performer, according to Pro Football Focus, was Zach Frazier. That's our starting center, going on 4 years in a row now. Number 2, C.J. Donaldson, our starting running back. Number 3, Wyatt Milam, starting left tackle who could only get better. Another year in the weight room. Number 4 is Garrett Green, who is a very high probability to be the starting quarterback and is certainly one of the most explosive players on the team. Number 5, James Gamitter is gone, but once you get past Jalen Anderson, who is probably going to be the number 2 back, you get to Tomas Remack, who started the last 7 games in the left guard spot. As a really young player, guys, I cannot stress how young Tomas is. And for him to play the way that he did down the stretch really gives us a lot of hope for him in his future. You get to Doug Nestor, who just announced he was coming back. He's another guy that's going to make a huge jump, in my opinion, this year. Get past J.T. Daniels to Bryce Ford Wheaton, Caden Prather, Jeremiah Aaron's even there. So obviously, huge need for concern is the wide receiver. Devin Carter's coming in. Cole Taylor's coming in, the tight end from LSU, going to help rectify some of that. But you can see where this offense is heading. It's going to be a more downhill style. Oh, and by the way, Neil Brown mentioned in his press conference, Chad Scott was the true run game coordinator last year. What does that mean? That means that when you're putting an offense together, it's made up of different parts, right? You've got the running game, obviously. You've got the passing game, obviously. But in this situation, Matt Moore and Chad Scott likely worked together to formulate what became our run game last year, which ran for over 1,700 yards, guys. Our running game was extremely productive last year. It just, against the better teams in the conference, struggled at times. But even against a Baylor that had a pretty stout run defense at times, or a TCU that played in the national championship game, we were able to gash those people, guys. Questions that need answered. Obviously, quarterback, number 1. Will it be Nico or will it be Garrett? I plan on doing a video on that, who I think it should be. But rest assured, both these players have their own style and can both run with the ball. Garrett being the more explosive, Nico being the more tough runner of the two, obviously. I think Nico is similar to a Tim Tebow type running quarterback, as to where Garrett Green is more of a Pat White type runner. Cortez Braham and Jeremiah Aaron supposedly going to make huge jumps this year. I'm a fan of Cortez. I think he has a chance to be really good. We'll see. Would really love to see the Mountaineers get another receiver in the wide receiver room, but that is to be determined. Now, guys, I'm not saying this team is going to win the Big 12 championship. I'm not even going to say they're going to finish inside the top four. Not yet. There's still more work to be done. And based on how we use these other 5 or 6 scholarships, could vastly change the predictions for this team. Obviously, we need a right tackle. Obviously, we need to replace more on the defensive side. I do expect players like Aubrey Burks, Lee Koba, Tara Simmons, Sean Martin, Asani Redwood. I expect all these players to step their games up a little bit next year and more. This is just off the top of my head. But if there was a reason to say yes, that team is going to be 14th, obviously for reasons I just said. Defense is extremely sketchy. I will agree with that. Obviously, there is no what you consider an answer at quarterback yet. We have hopeful. We have players we really think can be good in the quarterback spot, but there's no guarantee. Wide receiver spot, obviously huge holes, and that's it. So I feel like, and it's just my gut feeling, I really feel like this team is going to be good enough, especially if they add another right tackle or somebody in house is able to up their game. I really feel like this can be one of the 2 or 3 best running teams in the Big 12. And I think C.J. Donaldson is going to be the best back in the Big 12 conference this coming season, as long as he can stay healthy. If you haven't liked the video now, guys, please like the video. And if you haven't subscribed to Mountaineer Paul Talks Football, would really appreciate you guys subscribe to the channel, guys. We're going to be talking about the preseason all the way for the next 200 plus days until we get to that first regular season game in Happy Valley against Penn State. Really hope you guys liked the video. Follow me at Paul Mountaineer. Subscribe to my YouTube channel here. Subscribe to our channel for basketball coverage at Hoops in the Hills. Myself and Coos from Coos' Corner do work there. Really appreciate you guys for coming in for another episode of Mountaineer Paul Talks Football. This episode is over. I am out.
This is for Cameron. Tim Kim.